This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Sunday, September 12th, 2021. The title of this rant is it deep ignorance or is it typical white male legal misogyny? So the Texas legislature enacted the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. The governor, Greg Abbott, signed it. He was asked a couple days later about it. He made some ignoramus statements about it. We all knew that he didn't believe any of those statements at all. AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, was asked about it. She said it came from a place of deep ignorance. And I would say, yes, I understand all of that, but I would also say no, because Abbott knew this question was going to come up. He had already determined what the answer was going to be because he had worked it out with his cronies on exactly what the answer was going to be. And the thing about it is he could say all that stuff because it wasn't about abortion. It was about male domination of women, and especially women of color. Now, talking about Abbott, let's just say that for the last 50 years, there has been a concerted effort, Republican effort, to overturn Roe versus Wade. So we have thousands, hundreds of thousands, or if not millions of pages of documents intended for legislation that was written mostly by attorneys and mostly by white men and done at the federal and the state level, that they worked at diligently and in coordination with each other. As I said, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pages of legislation to legally break Roe versus Wade down and to overturn Roe versus Wade. And why do I say that this is legal misogyny against women? Because they've enacted all of these exceptionally restrictive laws against women. Because I ask you, my friends, in the last 50 years, all of those people, all of those Republicans who are in the anti-abortion movement, how many times on the federal level and on the state level have they voted to increase pre- and postnatal care for women who are having children? How many times have they increased funding for Head Start or any other preschool education program? How many times have they increased it, let's just say, funding for adoption services so that women can come to them and say, I would like to have this baby adopted, and they help them with all of their medical needs, both before and afterwards. And how about increases in education for children, especially in, let's just say, poor economic areas, and also increases in education for women. How about increasing in sex education all across for both men and women, especially in the teenage years, about all of this, and then providing birth control services for those who wish it. And how about the biggest thing of them all? Because how about an increase? How many of them have voted for an increase in the minimum wage to a level that is a living wage? Because we know that many women who have abortions have it after they've already had children. They say that they can't afford to have another one, and especially women of color, because women of color are especially impacted by minimum wage. Now, I would say not many of them voted for any of that stuff, because it's never been about abortion. It has been about dominating women. I'd like to quote here from a very well-known Catholic nun. I'm going to have to put the glasses on for this. Reading from the internets, but Sister Joan Chister. I do not believe that just because you're opposed to an abortion, that makes you pro-life. In fact, in many cases, your morality is deeply lacking if all you want is a child born, but not a child fed, not a child educated, not a child housed. And why would I think that you don't? because you don't want any tax money to go there. That's not pro-life. That's pro-birth. We need a much broader conversation on what the morality of pro-life is. And of course, they don't want to have that broader conversation. They only want to control women's bodies and then tell them they're on their own afterwards. And this is the biggest reason, especially in the upcoming 2022 election, that we need to get rid of every single Republican legislator out. We need to vote them all out.